There are many ongoing efforts to promote interreligious and intercultural dialogue, including by the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which I represent in Brussels, and the UN Alliances of Civilization. You are aware about it. These are all aiming to enhance social harmony and peaceful coexistence of diverse groups, if I may say, in the society and the world at large. The underlying messages of all these efforts have been that culture and religious diversities can coexist in peace and harmony. If, I'm saying if with a capital IF, if we are able to transform prejudices and fear into mutual understanding and respect. To my mind, with this background, I can say that to my mind, Pope Francis's idea of the culture of encounter is quite distinct, as it triggers, when the word encounter, when I look at it, it triggers openness of mind here to accept differences by encountering them. It's not just accepting differences as they are, in a very, what should I say, in a inactive way, but by encountering them. So to my mind, it says that openness is very important in reaching an acceptable level playing ground. I mean, we are all different, we have our differences, but we should be able to accept the differences with an open mind. In a way, it allows a person the space to agree to disagree, but for the sake of mutual respect and understanding. So in this respect, the culture of encounter is very distinct, because it is just not by accepting differences in a very passive way, but by encountering them, by knowing the other side, the opponent in that matter, and to see that where we can agree upon. So basically when we say that, to agree to disagree, but that is respectfully. And we do not know the other side very well unless we are able to encounter them, what they think, what their plight is. These are the ethos that brings us together and to act together to find, in a way, should I say, compromise, and to respect the dignity of the other. So it's very important in that respect. To me, the culture of encounter, as I have reflected on these phrases for the past few weeks, I think, it is basically to promote proactive action and to take steps for mutual respect and understanding. And of course, trust. Trust is essential to promote that. Building trust among communities at societal levels, relevant political and diplomatic discourses. And I would think it is important to address the challenges right head on. You see, it's not, I might be repeating myself, but to be more proactive, to encounter them in order to achieve long-lasting and comprehensive solution. Just one thing you had asked about yes, as I said, women's issues are passion for me. In the committee, not all the members we agreed, but we agreed to accept the other's point of view as long as it was helping the common cause of women's issues, women's empowerment, their life in society, violence against women. So it was something that in the committee, there were a lot of differences on many issues, how each members looked at it expert, because we were coming from different culture, different religion, and different social background. But at the end, what we call the concluding observations were adopted by consensus. So this is what encountering the differences and reaching a compromise acceptable to all. I think that the lessons that I have learned over the years is that that it's to keep yourself open to accept the very notion that the others will not always accept your point of view. When you grow up in the family, for example, you have your other siblings, they're not always accepting what you're doing, neither your parents are doing it. But at the long run, to make the familial or the harmony in the family, for example, we learn to understand each other. We may not appreciate everything, but we learn to respect the differences. I would say it's not simply tolerating differences, but to respect that others have others' point of view, which is different to mine. So that I think, in the lessons that I have learned is that through sincere and honest engagements, dialogue, it is always possible to find a solution and iron out the differences. And in the long run, to make a win-win situation for all these sides. But there has to be a genuine will towards that. When you talk about relations in terms of countries, there has to be a genuine political will to do so. So the genuineness is to have that political will. And in my role as a diplomat, I strongly believe that diplomacy and intercultural and interreligious or interfaith dialogue, they fit very well in countering divisions in international relations, because I deal mainly with it. And in many ways, embracing the diversities. When we say embracing takes a little more effort. Embracing means, you embrace something. But this is important in promoting unity in the diversities. And I mean, it sounds cliche. And to promote global peace and reconciliation, something that is very much needed in our world today. And also in preventing new fault lines. Most notably those stemming from cultural and religious differences, because many of the political problems or issues global political problems that we see often have some religious connotation. And of course, the political, top of it is a political interest, a narrow political interest in many ways, I should say. I'm being very frank. When you speak of the global agenda, there are so many issues on the global agenda. Well, it's a very interesting and promising project. And that's why I felt that maybe in some ways, in many humble ways, I should say, maybe if I can contribute to the project's fruition, I'll be very happy, because this also aims to explore His Holiness Pope Francis's idea of the culture of encounter and its implication for global solidarity. Basically, this is what I read out from the invitation. If I may digress a little on a very personal note, I would like to recall that there was a meeting between the then Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and Pope Francis in March 2018 in the Vatican City, where they focused on intercultural and interfaith dialogue for peaceful coexistence and global solidarity. And I take a modicum of pride because it was my privilege to organize that meeting and also to attend it. So I think this is very important to have had this firsthand opportunity to encounter what two minds representing, the organization does not represent Islam, but the Muslim communities, but Pope Francis was representing the religion. So it was very important for me to see that, to observe that, and to hear from them and listen to their, what they had, their vision, and also to see. And I would say that cultural diplomacy, as we noted, it is a soft power, speaking from my experience. And I find that the project that you have on culture of encounter could also be an effective tool to remove misconceptions and foster trust and understanding by bridging gaps between cultures, not only by dialogue, but through important avenues and like literature, music, theater. And I love to add food, the cuisine. This is very important. I mean, you know, through sharing of food from different culture, one can see how differences are there. And I love food from different international foods. So I can say that it's very important to have that kind of diplomacy and encountering a different culture through food, music, and all that. And when I talk about misconception, to remove misconception, I think, you know, it's very important to see that there are so many misconceptions that we have as human beings, you know, unless we are able to educate ourselves of the differences. To give you an example that, you know, there are often misconceptions about women in Islam. I'm a Muslim, but, you know, many don't really see that I feel in the stereotypical image of what they have about a Muslim woman covering the face, you know, head, and not allowed to speak. But these are all misconceptions because Islam does not say so. And we often find that, you know, culture, tradition often get reflected as religion. So my experience in the CEDAW committee showed that there are issues which are not religious or are not strictly religious, but they have often been portrayed as religious because they are basically cultural and tradition. So when we say that, you know, we should be, the project that we are looking at should be able to address the misconception, misunderstanding as well, and through education. Here, I would say that, you know, it's important to use the media. Social media is nowadays very popular, particularly among the younger people, to reach out, openness, to embrace and to bridge or build bridges. So the role of media is very important, and involving the youth is very important if you want to make progress. And building trust among communities and nations is, of course, very important in preserving global peace and promoting reconciliation across many issues. addressing the global threats, including climate change, as we know, the global health and the pandemic that we are all going through. Unfortunately, there are politics surrounding vaccine, for example. Unfortunate that is. But we are also witnessing social inequality, growing poverty, and the refugee crisis, which are all very contemporary issues that require our attention. And there must be overall commitment to overcome these challenges, but there has to be genuine will to do so. This might sound as a cliche, but what we all need is to address these issues from the larger context in an honest way, that these are common issues requiring common challenges. We should not be only focusing on self-serving interests. It sounds very lofty, but I think it's very important. And the project can lead us there.